the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from eXp's top-producing icon agents? If you are an ambitious eXp agent ready to skyrocket your business, this podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your eXp business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello guys, welcome to another episode of the eXp Realty mini-series here, provided by the Real Estate Master Summit. With us today, we have Jay Kinder. He's the co-founder of the National Association of Expert Advisors, as of the Kinder Reese Real Estate Partners. He's a top eXp Realty agent, he's a podcast host, he's an author. Let's just call it a mega agent and it will be all easy for us, okay? With over 4,300 homes, he is helping real estate agents double or triple their business. And we are about to find out how. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All the way from Puerto Rico. How are you doing there?
Oh man, it's beautiful here. It's absolutely amazing. I'm blessed to be on this island and enjoying the fruits of all my labor over the years and getting to show my kids a different lifestyle than I had growing up, for sure.
Great. So if I think it would be for the best if we kickstart this episode with your real estate journey. Go for it.
So like most people, I didn't aspire to be in real estate. My dad was in real estate. He had a property management company. And so he wasn't, gone showing houses and things of the nature that you might think of, when you think of selling residential real estate. But he was, at the office all the time and always frustrated when it was time to leave town for vacations and stuff like that. So like I had no interest in real estate, at least early on. I graduated from high school. Got my dad at that year bought a Coldwell Banker franchise and really kind of started getting into the sales, more the sales side, not him, but his agents and whatnot. And I was mowing yards for him. So like that was my gig, going to college and mowing all his rental properties. One day I went in to get paid and a guy was making like $5,000 that day. And I made like $400 and I was like, I worked really hard and I was sweaty and dirty and he wasn't. And I was like, what'd he do today? Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And he said, oh, he sold this house, such and such or whatever. And I said, well, so maybe I should think about getting into real estate. I was like, if he could do it, I could do it. That was kind of how I felt about it. And so I got my real estate license. And shortly after that was very fortunate, I think, to end up in the Dale Carnegie training course, which was really helpful for me at that age. And after that, I realized that there was skills could be learned and you can be trained to be more successful. So I continued the journey of learning and paid everybody I could possibly pay that would take my money that sold anything to real estate agents over the years, and ultimately kind of figured it out. How to get customers, and so what to say to get customers, lead generation, all the things that you have to learn. I think a lot of agents don't learn how to do, but it's the most important skills to learn. And I had to do that early on. And so, I had some luck with FSBOs, expireds, and, finally one person said yes. And I was like, it works, so I had a couple ways to get business and just kept hustling. And eventually, I don't know what year it was that I think my 6th year in the business, I know I'd hit $1 million in GCI. And then after that, it wasn't long for that. I was selling 500 plus homes a year. I was number 2 in the world for Coldwell Banker and was blessed, but I did it by following others that came before me. And that's really, I think, a story that anybody can do it, right? I mean, I'm definitely was not voted the most likely to succeed. I always jokingly tell people I graduated in the top 25 of my class, but there was only 36 of us. And so, like I'm a good example of, hey, anybody that's, that really wants to be successful and is coachable can do it. You can build as big a business as you want to in real estate. It's a great industry, and I'm fortunate to have been a part of it this many years, 25 years this year.
Nice, congrats. And yeah, it's don't reinvent the wheel, stick to the process, and you will get there. So how did eXp Realty came along in this journey, and why did you choose it?
Yeah, so we actually, I had a good friend of mine, Michael Reese. There's another piece of the story that won't make sense if I don't share. And Mike came to me and he's like, he saw that I was having quite a bit of success at a pretty young age. And he was my age and was a friend of mine from the same hometown, but he lived in a different city in Dallas, Texas. And he got into real estate, but he got into real estate, had the same website that I did, that I was, that I was leveraging, that was doing really well. And he didn't make all the same mistakes I made, figuring things out along the way. There's probably 10 things that didn't work for every one thing that did. And so Mike became very successful very quickly. His third year, he did $1 million in GCI, which was unheard of as far as I had ever seen. And it was because he did the right things in the right order. Both of us felt like, well, if we could do it, anybody could do it, right? And so there was a recipe to the success. And so we started a coaching and training organization in 2006. Still have that today. It's now called the National Association of Expert Advisors, as you mentioned earlier. And we just kept evolving to try to help agents, find success faster, right? And coaching was great, but there was implementation that was always a challenge. And then, we continued to move further down the value chain and deliver more done for you services, either from, all the way up to the latter part where we were running all the ads, generating all the leads, a call center making the calls. We were doing so much, building the agent's brand, all of those things, to really take the agent and just like rocket ship them to success. Really doing everything, but like, you stay face to face on the appointment, we'll do everything else. That was kind of our model. Mm-hmm. And then someone showed us EXP, and it was just, fortunately, it was an opportune time for us to, and it was actually one of our best clients that was thinking about going to EXP. So we weren't looking at it for ourselves. We were independent. There was no reason to join a brokerage that we could ever imagine. Boy, were we wrong. But this wasn't and I think what most people don't understand is they just don't understand the model. If they did understand the model, they'd already be here. But they, and we were in that same position where we just were missing a few pieces to what you could do within this model, I guess, how you can take your vision and expand upon it bigger, faster, and in a much more rewarding, financially rewarding way. And you get to help a lot of other people along the way. So, but that's, we saw the model, looked at it for the guy that was one of our coaching clients, was doing really well. We said, dude, this is maybe the best thing I've ever seen. If it's all true and everything that we looked at is true, then yeah, this is great. So we looked at it, flew down and met with at one of the events. We just came to one of the events, which I highly recommend if you're poking around to come to one of the events, and met everyone that we met, Glenn Sanford, Jason Gessing, Brent Go has been a friend of mine for 20 plus years. So I've known him almost as long as I've been in real estate. And then Gene Frederick, through these other folks, Rob Flick, all, had a huge influence on us coming over. We believed in the values, being an agent-centric company. And we understood the opportunity. The stock back then was a penny stock. So it was like, well, if the stock goes up, great. If it doesn't, what do we lose, right? It's a stock award. They give it to you. So that wasn't really much of the deciding factor. Turns out that was maybe one of the biggest opportunities out of everything. But and then we understood from a revenue share perspective that that we get rewarded for helping grow the company, and we saw that as something that we could do, and then we could add more value to anybody that joined. And so that was kind of the light bulb went off for us that this platform would allow us to expand, really globally. Now, at the time, I don't think we were thinking globally, but that's already where we're at. So and ironically, we had a vision of partnering with 2,000 agents by December 27th, 2024. That was our company's vision at the time. Mm-hmm. And today we're over 7,100 something agents, and it's 2021, right? So like, it's just evidence that this was a better way to add value and make an impact on agents' lives. That's how we viewed it coming in. And the track record of where we're at versus what our vision was before is just evidence that this was just a better way. And that's what we used to wake up every day thinking, man, there's got to be a better way. There's just got to be a better way. And fortunately, we were open-minded enough to look at it and try to understand, if we were going to make this work, how would we? And so we pivoted everything to EXP, and we've been all in ever since. Best decision we've ever made.
Nice. You made a very compelling point on that.
Right.
And who did you partner with when you got into EXP?
Yeah, so Al Stasek was our client. He came to us. He was doing 40 transactions a year. We helped build his business to over 300 transactions a year, and he had just had the same problem that every one of our clients and we had experienced in our own teams. before, which was his top 2 agents left and went to another company.
Mm.
And so, there's this, when you're getting out of production, you're getting to a point where you're kind of stepping out of production. The worst thing, I would compare this to, not that I've been in prison and let out of prison, but like getting let out of prison for the weekend and then having to go back into prison. When you're out of production and you have to jump back in because your top producers have left you, it is not a good feeling. And so, and that threat's always there, kind of festering at all times in this business model of having teams and independent brokerages as well. And so Al was a great client of ours. He wanted us to poke holes in it, which later we learned was a strategy for how you get people to look at the model and come join. But it was just a no-brainer for him. It was a no-brainer. And when I knew it was a no-brainer for him, then I started thinking about, well, this might be a no-brainer for us too. And so, now we're partners with Al, and very grateful that he brought that. He was out there seeking to try to find a better way himself, and found a better way.
Nice. And that's funny because Al is going to be a guest on this podcast as well. It was supposed to be actually before you, but for some reason he canceled on us. So maybe right. you give him a push on that.
Yeah, I'll let him know. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you definitely want to hear his story because he came in before we did, and he's a very smart guy, and I'm grateful for him as a partner.
Great, I love those synergies. So Jay, let's start now that we get your full background. Let's try to create here some value for our audience. Okay, so in your perspective, what is the reason that most teams fail, and how could an agent revert it so he or she can grow?
Yeah, so man, that's a really tough one. So there's different stages of the business that certain things are the most important step to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. And so, I think most agents that struggle either don't have the skills and that have not been properly trained on sales and people skills. I think that is fundamentally one of the most important things that gives you a tremendous amount of confidence when you know what to say and you have a value that you can articulate your value proposition to a buyer or a seller. That's a critically important part. And I'll say this: of all the agents that I've coached, and I've coached a lot of agents that are top agents in the world today. And they weren't necessarily when they came to us, but they had one thing that they were willing to do, and that was they were willing to call FSBOs and expireds and learn on the free business that's out there. Those are free. Like, seller leads are expensive. Anything you try to say, hey, give me some listings. Everybody wants listings, but the learning how to get the marbles out of your mouth and present and win listings on the free business, expired and FSBO, can result in a $200,000 to $300,000 a year an income that you can now reinvest into things. And if you skip that step and you try to invest your own money into lead generation for sellers, you're going to have to learn the how to get the marbles out of your mouth on leads you're paying for. And I'm talking very expensive to get a qualified seller lead. And most agents build their business based upon their referral. If they stay in it long enough, they have repeat and referral and sphere of influence that gives them enough to stay afloat. It's not predictable, and you don't necessarily know where the business is going to come from. And so it's not consistent. And so you're on this roller coaster. And so the key at that point is learning how to invest into where to get business from. This not repeat referral. Repeat referrals are great, but you should have other pillars. And one of those pillars needs to be the ability to generate a lead through marketing and convert that to a commission. In this business, we have the ability to spend a couple $100s and make a $10,000 commission. And so, like, if you don't learn that skill, then you're going to go buy Realtor.com or Zillow or whoever else calls you this week and tries to sell you something, and they're gonna charge you way more to generate that lead. And you better be even better. At converting, or you spend a lot more money and you go broke a lot faster. And so I think those are two pivotal points. You mentioned the team. I will say, I think the biggest mistake people make in building teams is that they, instead of delegating the $10 to $15 an hour work and having more supporting staff, they tend to go hire 2 or 3 agents and start a team without having a hiring process, without having an onboarding process, without having an ongoing training process, and without really understanding what the daily metrics that you need to manage and measure and to lead that team. And they didn't realize they were going to have to answer so many questions and be so involved. And so it takes them out of production where they're making 100% of the commission on the deals they do. And it puts them on a focus on where you're only making half and you've got all these new job roles and responsibilities that's keeping you out of the production. So you tend to not grow, at least income wise. It's a major setback. And so there's probably more things on your plate you could delegate before you start hiring agents. So that's the biggest mistake I see. If you run into a wall at 30 transactions to really up to 80 transactions and you start building a team, there's probably some key hires that should have been in place that leveraged you to be face-to-face with clients because you make all that money, right? So you make 100% of that commission. So that's the mistakes that I see being made the most, is kind of doing the wrong things in the wrong order. Or maybe it's the right things in the wrong order, because building a team is not a bad thing. It's just, when's the right time to do that is when you're so busy you can't get to the business anymore and you need some leverage. And not because you think, hey, if I get these guys doing 2 deals a month, then I'm gonna get rich. That's not when you hire a team. And so that's hopefully that answered kind of the question there.
Yeah, it did. It always does. But so when you say in terms of teams, you got to have that structure before you're even thinking about building a team. And when it comes to agents, you got to have that skill set before you even blink an eye. So
right.
You believe that having a coach is critical to make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I believe coach, a good coach is the difference between you doing 3 to 4 to 5x what you're doing today. A good coach can make that big of a difference. And so, that investment, I'll never forget. I made my first coach investment. I'll never forget it. There was $12,000. I remember looking at the guy next to me and I said, $12,000? Is this guy out of his mind? He wants $12,000. This is like in 2001, maybe. And I couldn't believe it. And next thing you know, I'm like, I'm signing up, right? And so, I took him 2 credit cards, and I said, listen, I don't think I can get the down payment on either one of these 2, but if you use both of them, you might be able to. So they wrote both of my credit cards down on the paper that I signed up for coaching. And and it was extremely valuable. I remember the best lesson I learned in my first coaching, through my first coaching, was being a better copycatter. I use that terminology. It's really modeling success. And I think this is another area where people make mistakes. And I was fortunate enough to be embarrassed and make this mistake and learn from it. But he said, follow the script, right? Make these calls, follow the script. And I said, I'm following the script. It's not working. These leads are crap. If anybody's ever said that before. And he said, no, they're not. The script works. You're not following the script. He says, record your calls and send them to me. So we did. Recorded it. He played them. We played them together. He said, you didn't follow the script. I said, yes, I did. Listen to it again. We listened to it again. And I realized I had changed up just enough of it to not be following the script. And I was like, and so he said, follow the script, keep making the calls, and let's talk again next week. So I did, and it worked. And I set appointments, and I was blown away that I just wasn't a good enough listener. I was like, I'm not going to fail because I'm so stupid I can't do what someone tells me to do, right? Like, if I'm going to fail, I'd rather fail for something far harder to do than that, right? It's like, can you just take the answers to this test and put them over here? Yeah, I can do that. Yes, I can do that pretty well. But no, that's, it was a big lesson for me to not try to innovate around someone who's teaching you a proven system that's proven to work. And so from that point on, I listened better, took better notes, and executed better. And then I assumed, and always assumed, that if it wasn't working, it's something I didn't do right. And let me see where I missed something, right? And so that was a big lesson for me, that if you haven't had that experience, people tell me all the time, postcards don't work, billboards don't work, Facebook ads don't work. Nope, it's not true. It's just not true. They do work. They all work. In fact, they all work really, really well if you understand and copy someone who's done really, really well with it. And so that's just something to always know, that your mentors in this business and the people that have had success are they've already done it, right? So be a better copycatter, and you'll get the same results.
Great. And your story of the credit cards is, I think it's an amazing story for even to tell your clients, to see like,
right.
I was in your place, I was in
right.
your place, and now I'm coaching you. So believe my word.
Right.
And you claim to be focusing a lot also on agent productivity. And when you So when you enter EXP Realty, of course, you got to align that with the agent attraction. So how do you do that?
Great question. So agent productivity has been it's been something I feel like there's no other company on the planet that is focused on agent productivity. They recruit,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't really worry about whether the agent's going to produce. They want them to cap at least, but after that, they kind of don't really care. And so we were, before we were EXP, we were super focused in on how do we increase productivity per agent and really ramp up their productivity and their earnings. And so that was just that we felt like we were different because that was our focus. And so that was always been like how I'm wired, and helping people hit their goals by increasing productivity and when there's a new opportunity at EXP that is actually a superior lifetime value revenue stream, and that is through agent attraction. And it just happens that you can learn a skill and you can learn how to do that, and you can get better and better and better and better at doing it. And so, there's a good reason to get the skills you need in order to sell another house, but that's very transactional. And then it's even more important, I think, to get the skills to list an agent or recruit an agent EXP. And it really attract an agent is a better word for it, because I don't think any of us have ever recruited anybody. We just try to help people, and when you help people, they want to come be a part of what you're doing. But you can learn that skill the same, and it pays for a lifetime, and it can actually multiply it. And so there's a piece of this model that's really unique that we've never in the history of real estate had this kind of opportunity. And so it's not that you have to do a whole lot, but you should do something consistent. If you want anything to change in your life, do it consistently. And so this is one of those opportunities where you should talk to a couple of people. You're probably going to talk to a couple of agents a day anyways. You might as well know what to say. And so, following a process to do that. And if you do that daily, no different than if you talk to buyers and sellers daily, you're going to end up selling more houses. You're going to end up recruiting agents EXP. And so it's following a process. There's a clear process to follow, and it's not trying to explain EXP. I think that's the biggest mistake people make. It's too much for anyone to sit and listen to a conversation to understand the model. And so you have to just get them interested, and then get them to take a look at the opportunity, and then put them on a call with someone that can answer all their questions. That's what you should do. If you do that, it's not a heavy lift at all, and then anybody can do that. And so it's very simple. It's a process, and if you learn it and you commit to it, and you'll start to build a passive income over time. It'll start to grow. And so that's just, again, it's just a new revenue stream. It's a new pillar of income that we didn't have before. And so we still focus on productivity and where you're trying to get to in your transactional goals. But now you just have a new income stream that we want to leverage, 20% of your time or 15% of your time to focus on that. And as that grows, you might decide that you want to focus more time on that. And most folks get to a point where it makes sense to do that. If you're making $10,000 a month in residual income, do you really have to go sell a house, or should you just try to get that from 10 to 20, right? And so I think that's kind of the way we look at it. We support, the agent's goals, whatever they may be, and you don't have to do any agent attraction. We'll still help you grow your business and help you produce. But for those that want to engage in that, I think we all owe it to them to at least have, show them there's a process for doing it and doing it more successfully.
Yes. And I want to have your insights on both of them, the productivity and the attraction. But let's start with the productivity then. What are the best practices that you apply on your business to focus on agent productivity?
Yeah. So the first thing is the first step in the process for us is clarity. Where are you at today? Where are you trying to get to? If you don't have that fundamental understanding of here's where I'm at, here's where I'm trying to get to, then we're just trying to do another deal here and another deal there. So the clarity of what the goal is it starts there, and getting a vision for what you want your life and your business to look like. So it starts with that. I think that's the key. And then reverse engineering. Well, what do we have to do to get there, right? And so having to prioritize what are we doing the next 90 days? Where we want to be in 5 years? What are we doing the next 90 days to get there? And so prioritize and know this is what my focus is on executing right now. This is the number one thing. And for most agents, this is not real complex, and you're not going to be surprised to hear this. But for most agents, the biggest challenge they have is how to lead generate and in a way that's going to result in closing an extra 1 or 2 deals a month. If you can, and the great thing about EXP is you get the technology. So as a coach, you come to me to know what to do. But then I would tell you as your coach, hey, you're going to need this technology to execute on this and to follow up and to manage this business. And so now you got to go spend another $7,000 a year. So you're paying a coach, $15,000 a year. You're paying $7,000 a year for the technology, and you still haven't ran a single ad, right? So that it's difficult to become successful with that kind of expense. At EXP, you come here, you get the technology, you're going to get support on what to do, and now, and not only that, we're going to give you the ads, and we'll even build them out for you. Now, you can have, there's other programs out there that do Make It Rain, which is great, but there's some things that we know about marketing that others don't, and just because we've done it for a long time. And when you have people that are skilled at something that can build your ads and help you with the complexity of Facebook, which there's a million ways to mess that up, you can lead generate at a much lower cost per lead because all this other cost isn't factored into it. Your technology isn't divided by the number of leads you get and averaged out. So your cost per lead can be in the under $1 range. We do it it happens all the time. Now some of the bigger markets, it's harder to do that, but I've seen numbers that I haven't seen since 2015 in terms of cost per lead. And that just means that your budget is going to go a lot further, and your conversion, as you get better at calling these leads and following up, you're gonna end up getting a much more likely to be successful with that, and that becoming a pillar of your business forever, because you're not having to spend so much money on all these other things to do it. And so then it's just like, turn it up, turn it down based upon what your product, your production is and what you're capable of, time-wise managing. And the last piece to that that I would add in there is a calendar. I'm a real advocate of show me your calendar and I'll tell you your future. And you either have a plan for the day or the day's going to dominate. And so I learned that the hard way and by fighting it for a number of years. But ultimately, if I looked at your calendar today, I can tell what your priorities are. And if you went and showed somebody your calendar today and it wouldn't be clear what your priorities are and what your focus is for the day, then things that you may have good intentions to get done are not going to get done. And guess what? Every day there will be things that don't get done. That's just the business of real estate and life. But make sure you put those key rocks in your calendar so that you're not missing your kids' game. I'm not doing this. I'm going to make sure I make my calls. I'm going to, the things that you have to do, get those things planned out early and plan it in, throughout the week and for each day, so that you're clearly doing the things get the most results. And just that clarity of knowing what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, where I'm at, where I'm trying to get to. Here's today. Here's this week. All of that. And then plus, the benefits of having the ability to get lead generation turned on instantly at EXP, it makes it, if you're really serious about being successful in producing, you'd be really hard not to do that at EXP unless you just didn't try, right?
Nice, and that's really something that you don't learn from yesterday to today. And yeah, you really got it going for the productivity parts. We already had some guests here. They were not focusing productivity at all. They only worry about the revenue share, like 100% themselves. They don't produce anymore. So it's good to have here a different perspective on that.
Sure.
But yeah, as for the revenue share, how do you say we would introduce the revenue share to other agents in the best way possible?
Yeah, good question. I think the number one challenge that every person at EXP has is what to say and what to send, what to do, right? What to say. So I do three-way calls all day, every day, sometimes 10, 15 calls a day. And a large percentage of those calls are people that want help with agent attraction, that they want to know what to do, what to say. And so to me, this is the biggest mistake people are making is they're trying to talk about EXP. I always jokingly say, it's like Fight Club. The first rule about Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. And if you're trying to explain EXP, people, they don't know what it is. And so we are in the educate and inform business. And the best way to educate and inform is not for you to do the educating and informing. It's to get them excited enough to show up to a live event, to watch a video, or to show up to a live presentation. There's those three things. That's the three components. You're inviting to one of three things. and get them excited enough to watch, let that video do the heavy lifting. I don't believe anyone's joined EXP that hasn't invested at least an hour to watch one video. And if not, I bet the percentage of people that did is off the charts. And after that, they all watch probably 10 more videos and 20 more videos after that, because they get excited about a completely different thing that they thought, what they thought it was. And so the first step is, what is the best video to educate and inform and get them excited enough to watch that? It does all the heavy lifting. And then from there, you want to get them on a three-way call with someone to answer their questions. And that it's important because you're not going to have all the answers, and you're not going to want to do it if you feel like you can't answer questions. So you got to have somebody that you can take people to help you with answering all the questions. That little process right there, when followed, results in recruiting a ton. And I've got example after example of agents that are not mega, coaches or influencers, and they just follow this process. They talk to a few people a day. They invite them to take a look at the opportunity. Then they get them on a three-way call. And I usually end up on those three-way calls. And that's where I can add value to you, as I can help that agent see how we're going to actually help them become more successful. And that's the thing. And I think the thing that agents have to start with is that, these agents that we're attracting to EXP, they're our opportunity, but they're also our responsibility. How do we help someone go from where they're at to where they want to go? That's the focus. If you're focused on trying to recruit, then you're going to repel. If you're focused on how do I help identify what your biggest challenge is, and then how can we help solve that, you're going to attract more agents, because you're trying to help people with their goals. And agents don't want to know about revenue share and stock. That's not their biggest challenge. Is not that. That's great. They'll learn about that later. But their current problem is, I'm here and I'm trying to get here, and there's something in the way, and I need help with that. And so, you want to approach people with where they're at, even though they're going to get excited about stock and revenue share later once they watch the video. But that's not what they're looking for. So when we start trying to explain all that to them and get all excited, they're like, oh, what are we talking about, revenue share? I'm not a recruiter. What are you talking about? I'm just trying to sell another house. And so I think that's the mistake that people are making. I think that's just the invitation of getting people excited to take a look at the opportunity, and then shut up. That's the most important thing. Don't start trying to sell it.
Follows the scripts, and you easier close that potential prospect, instead of like letting him run away to other brokers, right?
Right. Yeah, there's not, and the other thing people do, I think, is that, you repel them by trying to sell them, and then they go Google it, and they Google, and then they find some other agent, and someone, they bump into that video, and they learn about it themselves, and then end up joining under somebody else. So, having that asset that does a really good job of educating and informing them is a key part.
Yeah, and then you see them at the event like 2 years later, and he has a kick-ass team that could be working with you, and is not. So yeah, follow the script. So let's get a bit nostalgic here, Jay. If you could go back to the start of your career, what will you change, and what would you tell your younger self?
Oh man, what would I say? What would I change? What I tell? I had so many lessons that 07 and 08, the downturn, like so many painful lessons that I had to go through. But some of those things I felt like, my dad tried to warn me, other people may have tried to warn me, and like I had to experience, I had to, lessons bought or lessons taught. And so I really believe that I'm where I'm at today because I embraced the struggle and I went through the challenges. I think that's probably what I would tell my former self, is that embrace the struggle, fall in love with the process. It's not going to be easy, but that if it's ever easy, you're just comfortable, and just continue to push forward. And that's, and unfortunately that's what I did. I've seen a lot of folks that don't, that give up, and that, they back into a corner when it gets real tough. And that's just, you just got to embrace that, because that's where you're learning something. There's something here you're learning at that point when it's the hardest. And that's, I don't think I would change anything because of that. I think I would have joined EXP in 2009, as soon as that would have been available. I would have been the first one to join. That's for sure. No question about that. That would have been the very first thing I would have done. But yeah, that's kind of my answer to that.
Yeah, but apart from that, of course, the experience is what makes your personality as well. Like, here the goal of this question is more to motivate the younger selves that are listening in the audience, something like that. Of course, if everyone knew the future, everyeveryone would join EXP at the
Right.
at the very
Right.
start.
Right.
So now that we went to the past a bit, let's go to the future. So what is next for you? What are your long-term goals?
Yeah. So, I'm fortunate enough to be doing really well and living in Puerto Rico, and that was actually a challenge for me. I got to a point of where I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life, and I needed a new goal, right? And so, for me, it's my focus is I want to make 100 people $1 million a year in passive income through EXP. So now I'm working on building my leaders. I'm working on helping them develop the skills and develop their groups, and focused on helping anybody add value to agents. And it's the same vision that I've always had. Is how do I coaching was about helping agents. NAEA, when we created that, was all about helping agents. Joining EXP was just a way for us to have a larger impact on more agents' lives. And so now we just do that through EXP's business model. And so and unfortunately, it's not a business where I have to ask for a credit card at the end of the day. And so, we get to, basically just add value to people's lives. And so for me, it's a focus on helping others get to financial freedom through EXP's business model. And we're just getting started here. I mean, it's still very early. A lot of folks don't think, oh, there's already 65,000 agents. Well, we're going to add another 165,000 agents in the next 3 years. So not counting international, who knows how big that's going to grow. And so, the best time to join EXP was 10 years. It's like the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. But best time to next best day is today. And it's the same with EXP. You should have joined before, and so should I earlier, but we didn't. So the best time to do it now is now. And so, just helping people with accomplishing their goals through the model of EXP. That's what's for me.
Great, and you seem to be on the right path to do that, Jay. And yeah, the last question here is supposed to be also a bit of coaching for yourself as well. a little mirror coaching here is a question that no one wants to hear, but everyone needs it. Is in what areas do you feel you need to improve, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, so I'm fortunate that I've got a really, really great business partner, and that doesn't allow me to get comfortable. And so I got pretty comfortable, and in fact, gained some weight and was kind of, sitting kind of fat and happy here in Puerto Rico until about I don't know, it's probably been about 3 weeks ago. We signed up for a half Ironman. So that's, I'm learning. I mean, I had no clue what I was getting myself into, but doing a half Ironman, man, learning how to swim, about drowned, the first few times, and it's and there's a bunch of us doing it. So I think doing hard things it's easy to not do hard things when you don't have to. And so that for me, that was where I was struggling. I was also, at the same time, I didn't have a coach, where most of my life I did have a coach. So I hired a coach as well. So I'm getting coached on in my personal life, with my kids and my family and my wife, and getting coached on how to help grow this organization. And then I've got a coach and a support group for this Ironman. So, I'll shamefully say I went about probably 2 years where I just wasn't trying to grow, and I wasn't getting challenged. And it's largely because I didn't have a coach, which I believe everyone should have a coach. And so I had to make those changes, but that was, it did go for a while without me doing it. So, it was kind of embarrassing, because I knew better, but once I got inspired, and the minute I wrote that $40,000 check for my coach, instantly that changed. So it was just the act of writing the check was enough to get me in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And regardless of if he even coached me, I think he's been a great coach, but that was, it was moving in that direction, always trying to grow and get better. So great question, by the way. And I'm glad you didn't ask me that like 6 months ago.
and I hope you make it out alive with that Ironman. Yeah. Are you preparing? You need to do that preparation, man. Really hard.
Yeah. So Oh yeah, so we've been hitting the pool every day. We're doing about 3 hours in the pool every week. Our bikes are on order. We got 6 months, so the run won't be too tough. I think we could all make it struggle through that. I just don't want to drown, and I don't know anything about the bike yet. So I've got one bought, trying to get it here, and take it to a bike shop and get sized, and then we'll see how bad that's going to be. I don't know what 50. I think it's 56 miles. I have no idea what that's like on a bike. I've never done that ever. So if that's, I assume that's going to be tough. Been told the swim is the hardest, and I already agree with that. So got some work to do. But the training, it's it. The amount of training. This is with everything, right? Like, it sounds crazy to do a half Ironman, but it's just training, right? And like everything in my life has been just training, right? Like I had to get trained to learn how to sell. I had to go through training and get coaches in order to get good at agent attraction and learn how to do that. And like all of these things can be learned, but you have to be committed, right? And so like, when you commit to a half Ironman, like there's, I just know that the work is going to have to be done. And so, I'm committed now, and the training is, it should come natural. You have to do the work in order to get to the result. And so, I'm fortunate that I've got a good business partner that tricks me into getting into things like that, because I probably wouldn't have done it otherwise.
I think that was a very good business decision.
Right. Yep.
And so tell us, Jay, how can our audience reach you?
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty easy to find. I would say probably the easiest way to find me is on Instagram. I post pretty regular, and you kind of follow along with my shenanigans. But it's jkinder82. My cell phone and everything's. If you Google me, I'm not too hard to find.
Great. And I'll follow up with you on that Ironman to see how you're going. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And
do that.
Thanks for coming. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Yeah.